Hey, Caitlin Clark got fined $200. Kathy, what do you think you are accomplishing by that? What kind of message do you think you're accomplishing by doing? You're not even making an example out of her by finding her an exorbitant amount of money. You are literally making a joke out of yourself by finding her such a little.
The WNBA is no stranger to controversy, but this latest decision has sparked an uproar unlike anything we've seen in recent years. And what's fueling the debate isn't a blown call during a nail-biter playoff game or a questionable suspension on the court. It's a disciplinary choice that many say reveals just how disconnected the league's leadership has become. At the center of it all is the WNBA's brightest star, Caitlin Clark, who has found herself penalized for doing something that, in the eyes of her fans, only showed passion and pride for her team.
Okay, and we know how this works because Sophie Cunningham has told us how this works. If you talk about the refereeing, if you talk about the officiating, on the Instaface, on the TikToks, on the Twitters, any of that social media, in the public, in the interview, if you mouth it in the shower, Kathy Engelbert will peek in and look around at you and point at you and be like, you're fined. Even though she won't clean up the officiating in her trash-ass league? Okay.
Clark, the Indiana Fever's electric guard who has taken women's basketball to new heights, was handed a $200 fine. What was her crime? A lighthearted Instagram comment after her team's hard-fought playoff victory over the Atlanta Dream. On her team's celebratory post, Clark wrote just 4 words. Refs couldn't stop us. That's it. No profanity. No insults. No targeting. Just a cheeky message celebrating her squad's resilience. And yet, somehow, that was enough for the league to intervene.
So during the game, we saw here, the Fever players celebrating. I would assume based on the reaction that this was after the Lexi Hull steal and everything. And Caitlin Clark on Instagram commented this. Refs couldn't stop us. Elite bench mob. It wasn't for the lack of trying. Glad they're having fun and celebrating like no other teams. Will she get fined for saying that? Yeah, she got fined.
The punishment becomes even more baffling when you consider the timing. The Fever are in the midst of their deepest postseason run in years. This isn't just another playoff appearance. It's a Cinderella story in motion. Against all odds, they knocked off the powerhouse Las Vegas Aces in the opening game of the semifinals, shocking fans and analysts alike. Instead of building momentum around this incredible story, the league chose that exact moment to fine Clark, effectively dampening the excitement around one of the most thrilling playoff runs the Fever have ever had.
When you're on the WNBA's time or the NFL's time or the NBA's time, getting fined, when you're on their time, criticizing the officials, calling out the officiating, I've seen players get fined for that. But when you're on your own time, well, now, other than Sophie Cunningham, Caitlin Clark seems to be the 2 players that come to my mind of players getting fined, criticizing the officials, doing it on their own time, quote unquote, off the clock.
Rather than leaning into the drama and excitement of the playoffs, Commissioner Kathy Engelbert and her office have drawn attention to themselves by handing out what critics are calling petty punishments. Many fans believe this reflects the league's misplaced priorities, that instead of fixing real issues like inconsistent officiating or better marketing for its stars, leadership is more concerned with cracking down on players' harmless social media posts. To many, this decision reeks of silencing players instead of addressing the very problems they've been raised.
SUED, you out here trying to fine Caitlin Clark. You out here fining the one person who's actually bringing money into this league. What a joke. You're mad that the Indiana Fever are here right now. Y'all didn't expect us to get this far. Y'all really didn't expect it. We got Sophie Cunningham exposing the whole league agenda. Exposing them. Caitlin Clark mocking them all on Twitter, all on Instagram, everywhere, because they are.
Let's look closely at what happened. After the Fever's nail-biting 87-85 win over the Atlanta Dream in a decisive Game 3, Caitlin Clark chimed in on her team's official Instagram. She first praised her bench with a fun shout-out, "Elite Bench Mob." But it was a second comment, "Refs couldn't stop us," that crossed the invisible line set by the league. Somehow, that forward remark was deemed worthy of punishment. To critics, this wasn't just an overreaction. It was proof that the WNBA is hypersensitive about officiating at a time when players, coaches, and fans are begging for accountability.
What world do we live in? Like, I'm pretty sure she just said the refs can't stop them celebrating. This isn't even her going at refs. It's literally like if you say the word refs and you're an Indiana Fever player, you're going to get fined. If you say the word refs as a Fever player, the word referees has to be spoken, cannot be said by an Indiana Fever player, otherwise it's a fine. And the worst part is if they got fined for celebrating. So I don't think, only she got fined, not everybody. There's other people on the floor, everything. She's not, like, they're celebrating, the timeout's been called, or the foul's been called, it is what it is.
What makes the situation even more surreal is the fact that Clark hasn't played in months. She's been sidelined since mid-July with a groin injury that ended her season prematurely after only 13 games. This is the same player who has single-handedly boosted ratings, filled arenas, and brought millions in revenue to the league. And yet, even while sitting on the bench, unable to contribute on the court, her voice, her passion for her teammates, is what the WNBA decided to punish.
WNBA definitely got to play these women more. You got to pay these women more. Because what the hell is a $200 fine? This picture right here is giving me Mom Made Pizza Rolls vibes. Mom Made Pizza Rolls and everybody. Ah! Caitlin Clark was fined $200 for her comments she left on the IG post. She said refs couldn't stop us, meaning they advanced to the next round despite the refs trying to throw them a curveball every game, despite having to play against the refs. And the league said, "Oh hell no, nah. You gotta run me that 200. You got to run me that 200."
Clark's response to the fine was as entertaining as it was revealing. Taking an X, she laughed it off. Got fined $200 for this LOL. She even tossed in laughing emojis, making light of the whole ordeal. But she didn't stop there. She promised that the Fever's bench mob would be even rowdier the next night. Teammate Sophie Cunningham, also sidelined by injury, jumped into the conversation too, joking that the fine would absolutely break the bank for Clark and sarcastically offering to start a GoFundMe to help her pay it off. These reactions highlight something important. The players themselves aren't taking the league's discipline seriously. Instead of creating respect for the rules, the fine has become a running joke.
Sophie has got jokes. She retweeted this. That's really going to break the bank for her. Starting a GoFundMe now. Sophie, you got jokes. Hun, you got jokes. Yeah. So Sophie Cunningham Central, I'll donate.
Financially, the fine barely registers. Clark's WNBA salary sits at just under $80,000, but her endorsement deals are worth millions. $200 is the equivalent of pocket change. And that's exactly why so many people see this as a meaningless punishment. The issue isn't about the money. It's about what the punishment represents. By handing out this fine, the league sends a message. Criticism, no matter how mild, won't be tolerated. For many players and fans, that's more damaging to the sport than a social media comment ever could be.
Rather than fining players for being excited on the bench and for letting it be known how trash your referees are, why don't you start fining referees for not calling fouls? Why don't you start putting that type of energy into making sure the game is played better? Why don't you do that? Why don't you do that? Because that would be nice. That would be nice if you could do that.
What's especially frustrating is how tame Clark's words really were. She didn't call out any specific referee by name. She didn't hurl insults or make it personal. She didn't even curse. All she said was that the refs couldn't stop them, a statement that could just as easily be read as celebrating her team's resilience. And yet, the league saw it as grounds for punishment. Meanwhile, the actual officiating issues that prompted her comment continue unchecked, leaving players and fans alike questioning the league's priorities.
What if this is the WNBA foreshadowing we're seeing how you're acting on the bench. We're seeing how you're talking to the officials on the bench. We will tee you up. Now, whether I think that she deserves a tee for it or not, we're not even going to get into that. What if this is just saying, hey, we're going to tee you up if you continue to get at the officials, if you continue to talk up the officials, if you continue to show up the officials on the sideline, we're going to tee you up. We're not going to tee Sophie up.
The optics only get worse when you consider the bigger picture. At the exact same time Caitlin Clark was being fined, the WNBA was busy celebrating Aya Wilson for winning her record-breaking 4th MVP award. On one hand, the league lifts up one of its stars. On the other, it knocks down another for showing pride in her team. That split-screen moment sends a troubling message. Some stars are celebrated, while others are punished for daring to be outspoken.
Aces couldn't stop her. I actually don't think that the Aces perimeter, honestly, defense or offense is very good, but specifically defense, they just couldn't find an answer for Kelsey. They were sending two on her at different times, but the Fever were running cutters. Kelsey was making her way to the rim. Now, I will say the Aces defense is scary around the rim because you have somebody like Asia who averages over 2 blocks a game, and she's just there waiting and ready to block your shot if you get too close to the rim. But Kelsey Mitchell, I mean, she was just finding her spots, getting to her lanes, hitting those open threes, all of the things.
To understand the irony here, you have to look at the larger trend. All season long, officiating has been under fire. Coaches have been fined for criticizing it. Players have racked up technical fouls at an alarming rate. Fans have voiced their frustrations night after night. There is near universal agreement that officiating has been inconsistent at best and outright poor at worst. But instead of fixing the system, through better training, accountability, or transparency, the league seems more focused on silencing those who call it out.
Money that Caitlin Clark has generated for this league, all the tickets sold, all the jerseys, all the record revenue of the ratings, the television deal, and they're going to put their hands in her pocket for $200 for this. I'm like, hey man, do we need to call the armored guard? Do we need to have all this? And we need to deliver it directly to Kathy Engelbert's office. As a matter of fact, Caitlin Clark herself should be able to make an appearance, and she should do how Ice Cube did, when he used to run up in the record labels. I'm saying, bring a bat. Caitlin, bring a bat. Bring the black Air Force.
And all of this is unfolding while the Fever themselves are crafting one of the best underdog stories in recent memory. Play without their star and missing 6 key players due to injuries, Indiana fought their way past the third-seeded Atlanta Dream in a thrilling 3-game series. Then, against all odds, they toppled the heavily favored Las Vegas Aces in the semifinals with an 89-73 victory. Kelsey Mitchell put on a show, dropping 34 points. The second highest playoff total in Fever history. This team has grit, heart, and a narrative that should be front-page news.
It is madness. It is madness. And I mean this. Like, the amount of people that are like, oh, I hate this team. It's like, why? They're excessively celebrating. They're excessively celebrating. They're not there talking down on other teams. They're not doing the Alyssa Thomas. They're not doing a Phoenix Mercury and shit-talking other teams' fans. They're not doing Phoenix Mercury and shit talking the other team's players, their coaches, their all of this stuff. And then when they lose, they're silent and they dodge everything. Hell no, they're just celebrating. They're just celebrating. They actually find somebody for saying refs can't stop. The refs won't stop us.
This should have been the WNBA's dream storyline. An injury-plagued team defying expectations, led from the sidelines by the league's most marketable star. Instead, the league managed to undercut its own momentum by finding Caitlin Clark. They shifted the focus away from an inspiring playoff run and onto a self-inflicted controversy. The contrast with Aya Wilson's situation only makes it more glaring. While Wilson represents a polished, diplomatic star the league loves to promote, Clark's candid energy and rebellious streak connect with fans on a deeper level.